if you do nothing else other than just playfully explore what excites you and showing up to it, you actually will end up getting the result and outcome that feels good. I actually think you end up creating something that will be even more successful, have a good outcome, because you...
Alrighty! Hey guys, welcome into the pod. There's like so much going through my mind right now. I'm like, where the F do I start? We've been living in flow with life in such beautiful ways. I feel like the whole definition of alignment is just, it's meaning something different these days. And we wanted to take this moment with this podcast recording to give you guys an opportunity to tune into almost like a sneak behind the curtain of what Bella and I really believe leads to just like a flow, a sense of flow with life. I know we already did an episode on alignment. That was like our little signature method of alignment. But today we just want to talk more specifically about, I really see it as like those moments of decision making in life. And I just made that real on this topic too. But things have just been making so much sense to me with why, when we make decisions in accordance to more so like the energetics of life and excitement, really just more so seeing that from like a frequency perspective of why life will unravel in this really beautiful way that we call alignment. And you and I have really been dedicating our life to exactly what we're going to talk about today, which is knowing how and when to just continuously act on your highest excitement in life, regardless of how nonsensical or illogical that seems. And I've actually been consuming a bunch of Bashar's teachings and videos recently, and he has this formula. And this formula really resonates with me. And it is something that you and I live by, and we've been living by, and it's baked into our signature method of alignment. And I want to talk about this today. And I want to give you guys, the Ohmies, something to really contemplate when it comes to how you're making decisions in life and where you can start to guide yourself from. And this actually connects beautifully to what we're diving into in month 2 of the portal, which has been fucking insane. Let's like talk about that for a second.
No, it's actually really worth...
I've cried on like 3 calls. Like tears of just
we just
movement.
cry every time.
No, literally.
Yeah. No, it's definitely worth dropping people in to kind of behind the curtain, because it relates to this. It relates perfectly. I mean, okay, so for people who don't know, the portal is a 6-month signature group program that we run, and we're a month-ish into it now. And the whole creation of it came after years of both Nikki and I individually being on our paths, and then roughly a year and a half into the OM venture. And now that we're in it, it's hard to describe in words, but if you ever had something in your life that to you symbolizes many, many iterations of yourself and overcoming resistance and doing the work, and also is a symbol of what you're really meant to do here, and it just brings it all together in one, and you can kind of, it starts to feel like you have something to actually hold on to show for, like to show for all your work type of feeling. And it's not so much about the result and the metrics, but it does put those things in its rightful place in our life. And anyway, what Nikki and I have been really crying about after these sessions and during it's just that feeling of you've both arrived, but your journey is just ever unfolding, and you become so trusting of how all the pieces are working out, but you don't need to know. And I kind of just keep thinking back to my past versions of myself on my linear timeline and thinking about how guided she was, how guided we've been. And it's always been with this North Star of like the highest level of joy and excitement and what feels good to us and how we as individuals and souls want to do things. And the portal has just been the amalgamation of all those things and the way that we create and show up in our genius, but also leadership and community. And there's been so much reflection of you feel like you've arrived, but you're also just getting started. And I feel like that's the feeling that is the sign that you've opted into the world where following the highest excitement, and maybe you can drop into specifically how Bashar explains it, because I know it'll really hit for a lot of people, how you kind of get the evidence of that. And it feels good because you didn't need the evidence for like 90% of the journey and you still really don't. But then you get the evidence, you're like, oh, this is it. Like, this is what this is all about.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. It's so good. That feeling that you're describing of like making it to a point in life where it's that really interesting sensation of like you've arrived, but you're just getting started. I feel like that is such a good way to describe it because that's when you really know you're in the right place. Because a path that feels really exciting and expansive for you is one that's going to be ever evolving. So there is always this sensation of like, whoa, we're just getting started. But there's also this sensation of like, this feels like home and it feels like you've landed. And it's this beautiful paradox that just feels so right. And I think we're just at the perfect place in our journey with everything that we're doing, with tapping into our gifts and living our soul mission and feeling like we're in alignment and being in community with others that are also living this beautiful life of creation and magic and play. And now it's like when we speak about Bashar's formula, for example, we can now give our own perspective and also our own understanding and just add even more color, kind of like how you were describing on the individuation session in the portal today of how consciousness is just like this. The whole structure of it are these set colors. And then we, as the fractals of consciousness, consciousness gets to experience itself reflected outward in all these different ways. And we now are like adding different color to this definition of what it truly takes to feel that alignment sensation. And I want to describe a bit of the energetics of what I've come to understand with this formula, but let's get into it first and then we can talk about it. So Bashar's formula, it's literally just called the formula. Like I don't even know what he defines it as, but it's the formula of alignment. It's his personal formula of getting in sync with universal energies. And before I go into it, actually I do want to describe this first. I have this visual come through of the universe expanding, and it's like one of those beautiful visuals of almost like a star cluster, like exploding in the galaxies type of visual, but it's just the universe expanding, and it's constantly expanding. And that's like a wave of energy that is abundance, it's love, it's like those heightened frequencies that are always evolving and growing and expanding. And we are a part of that. Like that is who we are. We're fractals of that. That is the essence of who we are. And when I feel into this formula of alignment and our formula of alignment, it is how you become one with that energy of expansion, where you don't have to like figure it out from the mind. You don't have to hustle and chase and work overtime. You are one with the flow and you're literally syncing up your frequency to the higher frequencies of truth, which is like the ever expanding universe. And that's why what you teach with human design is so insanely powerful, because you're literally teaching people how to align with their true essence of consciousness that automatically like clicks them into like, oop, now you're in the flow. Now you're locked in. Here we go. So I wanted to share that because I feel like this is going to feed off of what we talk about with this formula. But step one in his formula is to act on your excitement, your passion, whatever is most exciting to you in the moment, and do this every moment you can. And we'll talk about each step with this because I feel like it's important for us to kind of add our own perspective. But this is something where someone can listen to, let's say, a podcast about like purpose and passion, and automatically our brain is like, these big life decisions about quitting my job and doing this. When this formula, Bashar explains it, where it's not the size of the step you're taking, it's the energy behind the step.
Yes.
And this is why you can kind of almost bring yourself to this place of overwhelm unnecessarily if you're thinking that it has to be like these insane, like burn your whole life down types of moments, which actually play their role as well. Like, I'm not hating on that. I've had moments that have changed my life where I'm like, fuck yeah, I don't regret that at all. That literally changed my life path. The reason I'm just adding a bit of color here to this is because I don't want you guys to ever feel like we're talking about purpose and passion and that you're not in alignment with purpose because you're not making these like big life decisions. It comes down to even the way you speak to people at the supermarket, or what you make for breakfast, or the way you interact with your pet. And when in every moment you're listening to what truly is calling you. And he uses the word excitement, which I really resonate with as an emotional authority, but I'm sure you can add some color to it too, where there's other ways we can feel into what the moment is truly calling us to do.
Everything you're describing is incredible. And I love that you're doing it through a lens of energetics, because pointing out that it can be in tiny ways is so key, because it's energetic.
Yes,
and because it's not about like you're saying, there can be the big moments that are splashy and they have a lot of charge, and they have charge because there is so much energy involved. But realistically, our life is not, you're not making those types of decisions every single day. Maybe you have a season where those are happening a lot, but usually what it is, and this is why it's so easy to, like, quote unquote, I'm going to call it misalignment by 1,000 cuts, is override the tiny little pings that you're getting. And I do think most people can resonate with the idea of what brings joy. And then obviously as generators, we really resonate with the idea of what brings excitement or, you know, expansion. I'll say excitement specifically, but for all of the types, you can, you know, what in your vessel feels like joy. And ultimately all of the authorities, whether they're coming through, you know, instincts of the spleen or wants of the heart, it's all dropping you into a frequency of joy and of joyousness. And that's really a big sign that you are living in alignment, that you are, you know, honoring your genius. So this is just speaking to me. And I feel like someone is going to click with this, where they're realizing that the little moments are doing something for their alignment. And I think that's where sometimes the discouragement can come in, such a flashy, big, take the big leap and take the full send, which we love, but it really is in the day to day. Like you're saying, the choice of
it's
what
both.
to eat and how, it's all of it. It's all of it.
Yeah.
But understanding the energetics of it, that's what drives it home, because that's the real, you know, universe and world we live in is of this energetics, where things are responding according to the frequency that's put out. And it's this whole swimming pool of energy. So the micro one and the big one are all contributing to that.
Right. And I do want to give space too for the big decisions, because now I'm seeing more so the energetics of when you'll make a decision that's acting on your highest excitement that feels like a big jump. It only feels like a big jump because your current rendering of reality has so much like energy and inertia behind it of an old self that created that and made decisions where maybe now you're like looking around at the career you're in, or maybe the relationship you're in, or the friends that you have, and you're like, wow, if I were to act on my highest excitement, it wouldn't actually be in that direction. And it will feel like a big jump when the current rendering of reality is a lot of manifestations of you not acting on your highest excitement. So sometimes the path, you can look at that and be like, okay, I'm just going to make little decisions that are me acting on my highest excitement, because that's what I feel like my nervous system can handle. Or there's people that are like, I understand that I'm safe, I'm held, my nervous system can handle this. I'm going to freaking make the leap. And not one is better or worse, because you'll always course correct with exactly where you're meant to be, whether you're making those incremental changes and shifts with the little moments of excitement, or you're saying, F this, I'm going to make this huge leap because this expands me and excites me. Either way, you are so held, you're so guided. It's just our perception of like how much we are held and guided that can differ in people. So if you can really feel into the trust and how guided you are with a big leap, you're going to experience being caught. And sometimes the path is actually to make little shifts and to see the synchronicities and to understand how held you are by just like seeing the numbers and the signs and the little moments where you're like, yep, the universe is on my team. So there really is magic in all of it.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, what's the next part of the formula?
Yeah, so step number 2 is to do this to the best of your ability, to like always act on your highest excitement to the best of your ability. Take it as far as you can go until you cannot take it any further. And then number 3 is act on your excitement/passion with absolutely no insistence or assumptions or expectation of what the outcome should be. So let's chat about the second one first, because I feel like there's a lot we can talk about here with both of these. So step 2, do this to the best of your ability. Take it as far as you can go until you cannot take it any further. I feel like there's so much magic in this, and this is what we really apply into our life, that really is one of those like make or break things that will put you on such a magical soul aligned journey when you can stay consistent with showing up and making the choices before things have shifted. And that's something that you and I really live by, is trust and understanding that it's not so much about like doing something so that you can land in a certain reality. It's about like who you are waking up as you continue to act on your highest excitement. And that's what ultimately energetically shifts you and renders you into a new reality. But if you catch yourself like always focusing on the external, like, okay, I'm going to act on my highest excitement and then like this thing needs to change, we're kind of missing the point. Right. It's all about how we're doing something, why we're doing it, who we are becoming in that process. And then naturally you will then experience that reflected outward. Yeah. So I'm curious, like what's coming through with this step number 2 of doing it to the best of your ability, take it as far as you can until you cannot take it any further.
Yeah. This makes me think about how in the right consciousness, this is where hard work and like striving for excellence fits in, because the first step was doing a thing out of excitement and joy. Now that you're in that arena, you will naturally have that drive or momentum or desire to be in full send, right? To show up and do it excellently. And you're not doing that from an energy of because you're just trying to prove something, right? This is kind of what step 3 gets into, but bringing your full self into it. And I think it's magical that Bashar brings this up because he's talking to humans, right? This is like for the earth human realm.
Yeah.
And at least like to my understanding. And there is soul joy in applying yourself, like going all in and stretching yourself. And that is something that when in the correct consciousness is the right use of that, right? Where maybe we are healing from a version of ourselves. We just were working hard and stretching ourselves, not because it actually felt good, but because we were trying to finally feel okay. But now we're feeling okay. We are aligning ourselves with safety and remembering that we are held in that universe. You absolutely are going to want to go ham at it. And I love that because it's like the positive conditioning that I actually think many people have of, you know, a parent or a teacher being like, whatever you do, like be the best at it. Like just go put all your effort in and like really, really trust that you are the one meant to do this and be the best at it. And it's not like best compared to others. It's just put your full self into it. And that feels fucking amazing. That is like the high of being creative and letting your genius come through and being a channel for whatever it is that you are here to channel in all the different ways of thinking about that. And it really is what gets the life force moving, I think, too, in your whole, like your energetic body, in your chakra system, just gets the engines revving. And that feels so good when it's in this context.
Yes, I agree. Yeah. And something that, was it he was saying this, or did I hear this someone else say this? When you are acting on your highest excitement, and let's say like you're in a flow with your purpose or something more career related, sometimes your highest excitement in that realm is to, I feel like this is where you and I really can highlight this new paradigm of hard work, where you are also acting on your highest excitement with rest and play as a part of the mission. And you understand that, like, when we're talking about hard work, are there late nights where we're doing something because we're like pouring our heart into something? Of course. But even that, it's more of like choosing, it's like a choose your own adventure where you pick your own. Help me out. You know what I'm trying to say.
It's a conscious choice rather than the paradigm where you live in and you're living in a world where you have to be doing this for some reason that is an illusion. So, right? It's like now
I'm just saying like you make up your own rules to the game. Like when you're taking it as far as you can, it's not to say you take on someone else's rules of like, oh, what does it mean to take it as far as I can? Oh, I see that it's like doing this, this, and this. You tune into like your own, again, following your own excitement, your own passion. And then that becomes the roadmap. And this is where you're actually sustaining something that feels like it can have longevity, because the way that you're going about it is really with this like intention on what truly feels good to you and your excitement. But we really are, a part of our mission, I feel like, is to also redefine what hard work truly means. And I'm sure this is like a certain paradigm we're living in where we'll look back one day and we'll have different values and different belief systems. Like when we have families, we are going to be finding new ways of having different systems in place. And we're already doing this. Like the voice note you sent me the other day, you're like, wow, this flow is amazing. We're just like resting, getting into the channeling state. Like it's this dedication where you are more holistic with the journey of doing it. Because you understand also doing it is going on a hike and then getting into like a state where you're knowing you're going to come home and spend like an hour doing something. It's like very much doing it to the best of your ability, but also seeing the holistic energetics of what that even means.
Yes, totally. The visual I have coming to mind is, think about when you are doing some sort of physical activity like a hike. There are moments of the hike where you are panting and sweating and it's strain on your body and it's hard. But it is happening in this context of the joy of having a body that gets to flex and strain and sweat and feel its muscles at work.
This is your gift 54, like coming out. Like, you're like, don't you just love to evolve? Like,
maybe it's that, but
no, it
I
totally
feel like.
is.
But okay, this analogies can be found in anything else.
No, I know. I agree.
Strain.
I 100% agree. And I've been having this realization. recently just about our power of choice when it comes to how we evolve as beings. Like, you can choose to evolve through like a suffering state. Once you're like really fucking understanding how all this works, you can be like, okay, I know no matter what I'm doing on this planet, I'm here to grow, I'm here to evolve. Let me choose the container that I'm going to evolve in. And this is what I was talking about on the solo episode, where you and I choose to evolve in the container of entrepreneurship. It's like fucking fun for us. So of course, where there's going to be moments where we're literally putting our soul is literally saying, you're going to go into this challenge right here and you're going to learn so much. You're going to grow so much. And the way that we interact with that challenge is like very personal and very just like intimate, and also just personalized to how we enjoy evolving, and also like what our nervous system can handle and what it actually finds just pleasure in. And just think about in your own life, maybe you guys are thinking about, okay, I want to feel this flow with the universe. Start intentionally thinking about the places in your life that you're like, okay, this is going to be a container for my evolution. And everyone that's in an intimate relationship, that also is a container for your evolution. And now you can see when like a challenge arises in that, it's not time to run. It's time to like, unless it's not in alignment. I'm not saying stay with someone that's not in alignment, but like, you know that you're here to evolve through the container of the relationship. And this is just an important note to make, that like when you're doing this, there's going to be moments of the panting on the hike. And it's not because you're doing something wrong. It's because your soul fucking signed up for this adventure.
Exactly. It's literally the difference. This is also fresh for me because I was in Zion doing these hikes. And it's literally the difference between being like panting and feeling strained and tired, and then being like, God, I'm so weak, I suck at this hike, versus being like, wow, how beautiful is it that I'm efforting right now for this glorious peak and this view, and my blood is pumping through my veins and I'm feeling so alive. Like, that's the difference, right? Is the joy of that hard work and sweat. And like, that could be in you knitting and having to be like really focused on this point of the crochet thing. And that's like your focused in energy, that one person could be like, oh shit, this is hard and I can't do it. But another person was like, oh, this is hard. Amazing. I'm going to really do this.
You're describing evolution. Like, think about an animal that's like, I'm going to make it up this freaking mountain. And then all of a sudden, the species that's evolving are the ones that made to the top of the mountain because there's like this special food there. And now this species has evolved to a place where their nervous system has expanded and they are now able to climb this mountain. Like, what you're describing is literally gift 54, your gift of ascension. And that is why you're so intimate and knowing of the energetics of discomfort and resistance, because that is the fucking precipice of like evolution and ascension.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes. So true. Wow. Thank you for highlighting that. That's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a gift I get to receive every day just by being in your energy, and you help bring that out in other people. So let's move on. Do you have any other thing to say about number 2? Okay.
No, keep rolling.
Number 3, act on your excitement/passion with absolutely no insistence or assumption or expectation of what the outcomes should be. I'll let you kick this one off and then I'll share what's coming through for me after.
Yeah, this is one that I used to have a lot of, like, I used to have a hard time with, of actually having that balance of holding the vision and having the goal, but actually being totally okay with whatever the outcome is. And I've realized that I'm experiencing this right now with the secret project, which probably anyone could guess what it is, but I'm not going to say out loud what it is, that I'm working on and embarking on, and realizing that I actually do believe that most of me doesn't actually care so much about how it's received or how it does or those metrics. And I'm so much more interested in the process that I'm about to enjoy and endure and grow through and evolve through. And I'm realizing that all of the, past experiences that I've gone through where I had the moments of being more attached to the outcome, and how does he word it exactly again? To not have any...
No insistence default assumption or expectation on what the outcome should be.
Yes. So having experiences of exactly the opposite of that, and it not coming from, just holding the vision, but more so gripping onto maybe needing a certain outcome to feel a certain way from an external stimulus or source, and learning how to soften into the process, yet still be full force in it, but trust the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to say, anyone feeling like they're hearing that step 3 from Bashar and they're like, say, what? Like, how is that possible? That I think it's all hinging back on this first step of following that joy and that excitement and rewiring your world to know that that is enough, really. Like that is, if you do nothing else other than just playfully explore what excites you and showing up to it, you actually will end up getting the result and outcome that feels good. But I think a big lesson for a lot of us, and for me, has been truly having no, gripped expectation of how that thing will turn out. And when you free yourself from that, I actually think you end up creating something that will be even more successful, have a good outcome, because you clear the air for mass levels of creativity and genius to come through, because you are more in the process than you are in the process, but also an eye over here. Not that you can't think about the end vision, but the energetics of be in the process with it. You have the vision, the idea of this thing you want to do anyway, to be with it in the process, rather than 1 foot in the process and 1 foot over here. Your 2 feet can be in the process. And then of course you're going to be holding the vision, and you can have a goal in mind and whatever, but it's kind of wild. I'm really starting to see, it's funny. If I heard myself now talking from 6 years ago and being like, yeah, but the outcome of it, it's like, it'll be what it is. So just to say, the other steps work, because as you continue to be in that excitement, you truly can hold that paradox of having the vision, having the striving. Like, trust me, I have the grand idea of what it could achieve, but I'm also I'm just good with the process itself, because I trust that process will lead to the right outcome.
Yeah. Yeah, wow. To even witness your evolution with this has been really beautiful. And just to see all the magic that has flood into your life just through that process of being I'm going to focus on the actual process, who I'm becoming. And it's pretty epic to just notice your own growth too, and to look back and be like, wow, that was a part of my soul journey. And now you get to experience the magic of the flip side of that. It's kind of like what we're talking about with the shadows and the gifts and the...
Yeah, 100%.
And I love looking at this list from an ET's perspective, because from the ET perspective, this 3D material reality is very much just all energy. It's just a part of the simulated reality that allows us to experience ourselves as real. We get to experience what we believe about ourselves, what we believe about this world, reflected outward. Now, from an ET's perspective, Bashar, what he's essentially trying to teach us is how to always be in a constant state of expansion, to be one with the constant state of expansion of the universe. Because that's ultimately how we get into that flow state. It's how we're really just experiencing love and joy and abundance reflected out. And we really get to bring heaven into our own earth realm. And when you think about it from this perspective, to act on your highest excitement and passion with absolutely no insistence or assumption or expectation of what the outcome should be, the ETs are okay, this ain't really about the end goal. The end goal is just here as a part of this illusion experience to get you to expand. So this is why we always talk about the be do have formula of how it's really reverse engineering. It's not so much about what you're having at the end. You more so are starting with the beingness of the frequency and the energy that you're tapping into. And that ultimately is all that really matters. Now, this isn't to say that the outcome of living in a reality isn't just as magical, because ultimately what you're doing is experiencing yourself reflected outward, which feels fucking incredible and amazing. That's why to create your own heaven on earth is like such a beautiful and incredible journey. But when you're releasing the attachment to the outcome, one, it's like what you said, you're able to actually be like focusing on the genius and the creativity, and you're really suspending the mind to allow yourself to be a clear conduit that's receiving what you're meant to receive. And I just keep getting a visual of like a little rat-like animal climbing up a mountain and like evolving and having this whole army of other rat-like animals being like, let's go to the top of the mountain. And then they're like evolving. And if you're like just focused on like, oh no, we got to get to the top of this mountain. We got to get to the top of this mountain. Like just think about energetically what that does to your channel and what that does to your frequency, which again, this is all frequency, all energetic. From the ET perspective. They'd be like, oh no, they're getting lost in the sauce again. Don't get lost in the sauce. They're shifting their frequency to like not enoughness and making it personal. And all of a sudden they're defining the illusion of an outcome and defining who they are by the illusion of the outcome. And it's really, it's almost like funny to think about it from more of like the ET perspective, because you can just start to see the energetics behind what it truly means to detach, because you're just more focused on how you're serving the expansion of consciousness, like how you're assisting the collective expansion, which can also just be like internally you focusing on your own inner expansion, or it can be external, whatever your soul journey is. And when you are the other aspect of this, which is like the magical part, is that we live in rendered realities that are reflective of what we believe will happen. Now, when you are so attached to an outcome, which this can also be positive. Like if there are certain things in life where you're like, I want to experience this, go make the vision board, write out how many rooms your house is going to have, like put the car with the exact color and model. If that's like your vibe and you're like, I know that there's nothing beyond what this is representing to me that I want to experience, then be specific, because like you will attract that thing. It's inevitable. But there is something to say about like the bigger, more grand things in life where you don't want to use your mind. Like you don't want to confine the dream to what your current version of self thinks is possible. Because what Bashar explains is like when you leave it up to the universe, there is such a high frequency of love that can come in when you surrender, where the vision of what you're creating is actually far beyond what you could have ever initially imagined. And when you're living a life of creation, you will kind of like put yourself on a path where you're manifesting just out of the mind, and every step you take is like, okay, I knew this was going to happen. I knew this was going to happen. Like there's definitely things in my life where I feel that way, and it's so powerful because we're remembering our co-creation abilities. But then it's like, where in life do you want to let go even more to bring in more magic? And where in life are we gripping because we think that if we let go, something bad's going to happen? Because that's usually the exact place that even more magic wants to come in. And all the little places in life that we feel like we're gripping and there's a lot of fear, those are gifts, because that is actually in your life where you came down into this earth realm to experience the most like beautiful expansion beyond what you could have ever imagined. So just start to think about in your life where those little places are, because that's your life path where you came here to almost be in shock with how incredible it can be. And think about just letting go even more, releasing even more, focusing on the process even more, and let the universe come in and surprise you and do its thing. Because like we're living in a literal miracle, and you get to experience that too. Like miracles happen every single second, and your dream and vision also is a miracle in the making.
That was some shit, dude. Like go track back like 3 minutes, because that was wow.
Making an affirmation tape for every time we feel like we're controlling or gripping.
Yeah. I'm really appreciating the way that you can tap us into energetics in its purest form, because it just does something, hits right for the mind and the body and all of our intelligence centers, that makes you be able to course correct and change a approach. And it's Yeah, I'm like speechless of just receiving the energetics that you just explained. So thank you. Okay, wow, beautiful. What's the four steps, right? Fourth step is
Yeah, there's 5.
okay.
4 is choose to remain in a positive state regardless of what happens. And I want to add some nuance here because the way that Bashar talks is very much like there's no bullshit. Like if someone's asking a question on the mic during an event, he'll like cut people off. It's like very
Yeah.
much no bullshit type of thing. And with this, I feel like the being a human, we understand how hard it can feel sometimes when you're feeling emotion or you're in a state of suffering. So I feel like I want to bring a little bit more, a touch of humanity into this.
Totally. Yeah.
Where it's this being like, I need to stay positive. But what I would say for step 4, it's you're always choosing to see the magic in what's happening and that it's
Yeah.
always happening for you and the highest good of you and the highest good of all. And
Yeah.
that sets you fucking free. So I'll let you tap into this more and share what's coming through for you. But I wanted to add a little caveat.
Yeah. I mean, when he says that, that's how I interpret that. Like, I think I
Yes.
know what he really means is it's what you're saying. It's just the lens that you continuously have. And this is where I really invite you listening here, like to know and trust that I just know that the fact that you're tuned into this podcast and you are showing up and you are living the life the way you are, it will start to this new lens on life and this new belief will take hold. And you will, because this is what we've experienced, that you truly do start to have the ability to see the magic, to see the divinity, or to just know that you're going to be okay and to really believe that and to feel held even in the depths of whatever you're experiencing. So it's a great clarification because we're explaining what the real meaning behind this is, but if you want to just distill it down, it really is the ability to maintain the higher perspective through what you're going through. But that doesn't mean that you can't be in the lower realm of it, right? Because we talk about being with a higher perspective, and what that is meant to do is be infused into where you are now, where your feet are. And I think the more that you fine tune the fork in the road choice that you're at, it becomes very natural to hold that perspective.
Yeah, it's like
And
you
I
get
feel
the
like-
evidence of, okay, I understand this is all working out in my highest good.
Yes.
But at the beginning, it's hard to. I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say it's hard, but I can see how without evidence.
Yeah.
But then you just have to create the evidence by then reflecting back on in your life the moments that felt like they were so terrible. Just notice the energetics of like what was holding you, what was guiding you, what people came forward and helped you. There was always this loving energy that was present in your life, even in the most difficult times. And I think you can
Yes.
also collect evidence by just reflecting back on the past.
100%. Yeah. But I think what we're saying is it is real to acknowledge and give like the compassion, let's say, for sometimes that it takes a little bit of time or energy and intention to reconfigure oneself to really feel that sense of quote unquote positivity and the higher perspective and the divinity at some point at a more regular, like on a more regular basis.
Right. Yeah, and another thing here with Bashar's teachings, which also definitely align with the way that I feel. Every time, and this is what I was essentially teaching in the solo episode before, Bashar will say, like, whenever you're feeling a negative state, it's because you're looking at life through a lie, like through an illusion. So when you're on this path, what you're signing up for is the expansion path. You're saying, I am going to do my part of evolving and growing. And with that, you're going to be shedding. You're going to be bumping up against belief systems that once were your Bible. Now it's going to be like, oh, I don't even know if that's true anymore. And that process can feel uncomfortable. So this is not to say you're not going to feel discomfort or challenge. When Bashar is saying to choose to remain in a positive state, you are understanding that you're the observer of all of this, and you can actually continuously align with just that knowing that you get to hold yourself as the positive container of the emotion. And that's something that you and I definitely relate to, is also like you're the container, you're the observer, and you get to create that loving and compassionate space for ascension to literally happen within you. So number 5 is to constantly investigate beliefs, which I don't know if this is actually, if this is something that someone added, or maybe he just sometimes doesn't say this step, but this graphic says constantly investigate your belief system, release and replace the unpreferred beliefs, fear-based beliefs, and the beliefs not in alignment with who you prefer to be. He definitely talks a lot about the subconscious and belief systems, so I wouldn't be surprised if this is part of the formula. I just have never heard him talk about the 5th one. But this is something that you and I do on a daily.
Yeah.
And we talk a lot about upgrading belief systems, and we're actually diving into this in depth within the portal, and really understanding the role of the subconscious is so freaking powerful and what it's here to do for our journey. But essentially at every stage of life, you'll always have a different kind of barrier to entry of like your of consciousness coming into experience itself as you. And that is the subconscious. So once started out as like maybe a certain kind of limitation, you can then transform that into a gift. You can transform it into something beautiful. And the way that you do that is just by looking at your life and seeing where in your life you're having this experience of maybe suffering or fear or anxiety, and just start to investigate what would someone actually have to believe about themselves, this world, for this to be a truth that is in my reality field, an experience that I'm having. And when you become your own coder of your game, this is when you start to just get really compassionate and really curious about what belief systems you've just simply outgrown. Because the whole journey of this evolution is you literally evolving past the illusion of needing certain belief systems. So the way that this whole journey continuously works, which you'll naturally evolve past belief systems, even if you just did the first 4 steps. But this makes it just, it almost adds like lubricant to the journey. Like I'm imagining like someone putting like lube on parts of the car that are like rusty or whatever. Some WD-40. What's that stuff called?
Yeah. I don't know if you use that for a car's rusty parts, but yes.
Like squeaky stuff. And it just adds like a flow where when you're in a point of a challenge, you can immediately see where the freedom is and use that challenge as a portal to higher states of consciousness instead of kind of sinking into the suffering. You get to ask like, how is this here to serve me? So that's the 5 steps. Those are the 5 steps. What do you like feel when you look at all these steps together? And I'm curious, like when you think about your own life, it's funny how we will all intuitively end up doing this on our own if we're just listening to our intuition.
Yeah, 100%. I just love the way it ties together and gives a sense of logic to a very natural process. And yeah, I mean, so much of this too, I can even identify through, you know, the creative process and the resistance that you come up against. And I can see similarities with just the creative process and what happens when you receive an idea and a vision, you feel called to something, and then things are coming up and all, you know, it starts to be not so like 1 through 5, but it's really all happening all together. And I think as humans, we really, especially in our line of work, we really enjoy when there's this like rhyme and reason to how things work, which actually is truthful because this whole universe is based on these patterns and these energetics that play out. And everything we're describing here is kind of found in many different corners of existence and the life journey. And whether you are, entering motherhood or starting a business or entering a new relationship or going on a literal trip, a journey across the globe of some kind, you're going to experience these things. And it's resonating a lot. I think the energetics is a beautiful way to approach it. And yeah, I'm resonating with it a lot. And it is fun to look at it from the ET perspective because it takes us out of the almost confusion and being so in it. And I think that's been a huge key of why we are experiencing what me and you are experiencing now in our life, in our business, in our purpose fulfillment, is because we are able to, relate to it in ways that are expansive.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is magical. I really connect and resonate with the ET channeling and learning about it from their perspective because they just make it seem so playful and light because it is. And
Right.
I just want to remind you guys listening, like you chose to come down into a realm that has so much potential for experience on both ends of the spectrum. And our souls, if you guys are listening to this podcast, you came down in this lifetime to really experience the magic of being a creator. And this is such a special time to be alive with the collective consciousness expanding in a way where we are now, as a collective, remembering these codes. And it is beautiful to think about like the own personal heaven on earths that we are all building individually and then also as a collective. And I know it can feel chaotic sometimes out there if we're watching the news and learning about world events, and that can really impact us in a way where we're feeling the frequency of that. But I just want to remind you guys that your energy contributes to the building of a new earth. And I recently saw a video where this guy was explaining how we were not meant to be so in tune with world affairs the way that we are with our cell phones. Again, just a blessing and a curse of having these devices. And to be in a constant stream of like being updated on world events that just kind of bring us down to that frequency isn't really serving anyone. And I want to just share this message because when we talk about creating heaven on earth, I can very much understand how there is this perspective of like, but there's all of this happening in this part of the world. Yes, and also how do you wish to contribute? What do you wish to do with your time here? Maybe this is actually a catalyst for you to think about your deeper purpose of the energy that you wish to contribute and the world that you wish to live in. And instead of thinking we need to fight the old world, let's just start building the new one in our personal life and then in our community. And it ripples outward. It truly does. So see this as your life mission is following this and doing this. And when you can tap into the deeper purpose behind our expansion and our evolution in your little daily actions that you're taking, you just feel the purpose in everything you're doing, no matter how big or small. Like cleaning your dishes becomes a spiritual act. So I wanted to just share that final note. And do you have anything else coming through that you want to talk about?
Nope, that was lit. Amen. Double tap on everything said.
Beautiful. All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next Monday. Definitely feel free to leave a comment, hit that subscribe button, and as always, if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. We love you so much, and we'll see you on Monday. Bye.
Bye.